Hey guys, this is Echo Sounds, and you're checking out a first look video and kind of a walkthrough of a new audio effect in Ableton Live 10, Pedal. So I wanted to do this video because Pedal comes with the Suite version, the most expensive version of Live, and you might be kind of thinking about, should I update? Should I update to a new version, maybe of standard, or you have the basic, the intro version. So we're gonna look at Pedal on a few different sound sources, guitar, synth, bass, and then we're gonna actually go through its controls and how it sounds. So let's get started. All right, so Pedal is a trio of distortion effects. You have overdrive, distortion, and fuzz. And we're gonna check it out on a couple different sources in this video. First things first though is obviously a guitar. Pedal was designed with the guitarist in mind. It pairs very nicely with cabinet and amp. It's Ableton's way of saying, hey guitarists, you can handle most of your guitar processing needs straight from Ableton now. So I have EQ8, glue compressor, cabinet, amp, and some reverb on this guitar. Let's have a listen. Now, the reason why I have all these plugins on is because you're more than likely not going to just use Pedal on a guitar, especially a DI guitar like I just recorded here, without any other effects. It sounds much better when you're using it with cabinet and amp, and maybe even a compressor, some reverb, etc. So first things first, the different modes. Overdrive, I think, is the most versatile. It's kind of the most subtle. Even if you pump the gain really high, you know, it still sounds musical. Let's turn the dry wet up to 100% wet. Now let's check out distort. So this one's really aggressive. It's really in your face. And then fuzz it kind of sounds like a blown speaker. So all three of these modes are pretty different from each other, right? Now under that, you have a 3-band equalizer, which is quite cool. And this is happening post-distortion. So for instance, if we go to distort, and I want to really crunch the highs, I can crank up the treble. Or maybe I don't want the bass to be distorted, or maybe even the treble, right? So again, this 3-band EQ is post-distortion. Now under the mid, you have this 3-way selector switch. Now, this is kind of nifty. So it really opens up your options here with the middle frequencies. It's going to set what frequencies to start at. So over here it is 500 hertz, over here it's 1K, and over here is 2K. So just by selecting the different positions and moving your mid frequencies, you're gonna have a big effect on the sounds. Check this out. So let's take it back to the middle, and I'm going to turn this all the way up. There it is on the left. And we checked out on the right as well. So it is a pretty nifty, cool little way to get more out of a 3-band EQ. Now the next control down here is the sub control. This will boost some harmonics in the sub range, which can be really great for basses. And even guitars, they're meant to be played in a little bit lower register. It's a hard effect to hear. If you're listening on headphones, you can probably hear it. But laptop speakers, most likely not. And then the dry wet control. So this is a really great control to have on this effect because right now, this might be a little bit too much, right? I can dial this back to about 50%. Let's put the compressor after it. All right, so you can really shape your tone by just messing around with the dry wet. And obviously, if you're going for synth sounds or bass sounds, subs, having that dry wet control is really important, especially if you're using the more aggressive or in-your-face modes like distort and fuzz. All right, so I'm going to turn off the other effects here so you can hear what Pedal sounds like on its own. right? It doesn't sound nearly as good as when you use it in line with the cabinet and the amp. Now let's actually just real quick before we go to the next example, let's put it after the cab and the amp. Right, totally different vibe. So really fun to play around with those different options. So I've loaded up an instance of Simpler and I dragged in a 808 sub sample from Coda. So here is the sample with no processing. Right, now let's use Pedal to add some harmonics, some drive, some warmth to this 808. It's a pretty common technique to add saturation or distortion to an 808 or sub bass to make it more noticeable in the mix. So I don't want to boost the bass frequency, so I'm going to just leave that where it is. But I might want to mess around with the mids and the treble frequency. So I really like the sub control. This is going to add a lot to the sound. So this is probably the coolest feature for using Pedal with 808s or subs. But also this dry wet is really nice because then you can use distortion and fuzz and not have it overtake the sound. For instance, if I turn the dry wet up to 100% on fuzz, it doesn't sound like a sub or an 808 anymore, right? But if we turn the dry wet down to maybe about 20%, turn the gain down, now we have a nice, just kind of a gritty, buzzier 808. It's a different type of 808 for sure, but it still is an 808 or a sub. Now let's go to overdrive, which is my personal favorite for using Pedal on 808s. Because you can push the gain a little bit higher, and it's a little bit more subtle, and the dry wet up higher on the wet side of things, without drastically sculpting the tone of the 808. So there it is on, here it is off. All right, so I've stuck Pedal on two instances of Serum. One is more synth-like, one is actually kind of a ethnic guitar sound. So here is the first patch that I put it on. Without Pedal, it sounds like this. Here is the other sound. All right, so let's turn on Pedal on both of those, and we're gonna play it in this demo and then tweak the settings. So I like having it on the dry wet set to about 25% with this because it gets a nice sizzle to the sound, but it's not overtaking the sound. Then let's listen to it on this guitar sound. All right, so that sums up our look at Pedal. It's a really cool plugin. It's a great addition to Live. It obviously works well on guitars, but a bunch of other sound sources as well. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm Echo Soundworks. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.